Hey guys, this is the Working Man Burchill, and you're about to watch Loudmouth presents Off the Top Rope, uncensored, uncut, and raw. Enjoy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, and people of all orientations, because now we've got vowels and letters and we're cancelling culture and all of that stuff. Pepe Le Pew, rest in peace, my friend. Rest in peace, Pepe Le Pew. Loudmouth presents Off the Top Rope. Cancel the entire culture. Let's put it in the bin. Mr. Burchill, a parting word for old Pepe Le Pew. Let's have it, please.
Do you know what? I thought it was a rib.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know how you can. I don't know how a cartoon character can die.
Well,
That's just me.
Apparently, his non-consensual kissing of said black and white kitty cat without her reciprocating feelings is apparently rapist behavior. So they've cancelled that. Old Speedy Gonzalez has also bitten the dust there because he's reinforcing the Mexican stereotype. So
Oh my God.
Speedy Gonzalez has also gone the way of the dodo.
Well, if you get offended by things like that, then I'm going to say politely fuck off.
Well, there we go.
That's not. It's like I was watching characters. It never offended us when we were watching it. So why would it offend? This could be a serious rant now. I'm not being funny, but the amount of people trying to be politically correct is the biggest load of bollocks in the world. Just accept people for who they are, what they do. Don't even bother, mention it in the same breath. Just crack on with your own life. Don't be one of these snowflake, arseholes that just wants to make issues. Like, for instance, did you hear the one about Mr. Potato Head? Now they've just got to call him Potato Head because it offends somebody. What on God's green earth is this world coming to?
The only thing I was offended about this week was AEW Revolution with their exploding ring.
Can we talk about this?
Oh, let's go. Let's go bocce. Let's go bocce.
Okay. You go first then, and then I'll throw my 10 pence into the hat.
All right. This is how it's going to go, and it's going to offend some people, but who the hell cares? This is the politically incorrect Off the Top Rope. You have a show that you're punting as your premier show for the year. You have 8 matches on the card, 5 of which are gimmick matches.
Yep.
All of them had some sort of dodgy finish or dodge part in it.
Yeah.
And then your main event with an exploding ring lands up being Gilbert-styled sparklers.
Yeah.
Gilbert, not Goldberg, Gilbert.
No.
Styled sparklers. Okay. Are you going to remember the matches? Or are you going to remember the 3 minutes at the end where everything just gone to hell in a handbasket?
Do you know what? There was a really famous line by Vince McMahon. And he said, no matter what you do in the match, they will always remember the finish.
That's it. And quite frankly, that little 3 minutes at the end took a very, very good pay-per-view and put it in the toilet. Because people aren't remembering exploding rope, death match, barbed wire, Sting in its cinematic match. The women's match for me was fantastic. But that's overshadowed now by the fact that Kenny Omega can't build a death ring for shit. And he was in Japan, and they invented that stuff.
Yeah. Do you know what? I did an interview a while ago, and I don't know if it's an insult or a compliment, but someone said, you're like the Jim Cornette of English wrestling. Because I'm not afraid to say what I feel. And it's like, to hell if I offend you. I'm not bothered. I'm just giving a professional's opinion. And I've got to be honest, Loudmouth, I have to be 100% honest. If that's their biggest pay-per-view of the year, they've got a lot to live up to for the rest of them, because I love watching wrestling, as do you.
Yeah.
The problem we've got is, we, like Vince said, you will just remember the finish. So it doesn't matter if Omega or Moxley bled. It doesn't matter about if the Good Brothers got involved, or whoever else got involved.
Yeah.
It was the fact that Eddie Kingston covered Moxley, and you got I've got more dangerous sparklers in my shed, right? And the unique thing about it was that the storytelling was spot on.
Oh yeah.
Right. It was just, I think if there had been some super explosion, yes, I think that would have been one of the best storylines ever told. But it wasn't. And like you say, sparklers. Kingston's covering Moxley from sparklers in the top of the turnbuckles, and then slight explosions that are 12 feet away. Now, you're not going to get hurt 12 feet away. Yeah. And then he obviously rolled off him afterwards and acted like he died.
Right.
Well, why?
Now, if I wanted to fix this situation, you know what I would have done? And you can give your insights on this. I would have filmed it exactly the same way. But then I would have had Kenny come out on Wednesday night and laugh at Moxley and turn around and say to him, I played you, son. I thought you were going to be so dangerous, this, that, the next thing, and I played you. I made you look like a fool. Even though I won the match and you lost the match, I made you look like a fool, and you will never recover from this. What is your response from that? They could have fixed that. But instead, it was half-assed. And this week's AEW was bad. The follow-up show was terrible.
I think the way that they took the piss out of it when him and Kingston were sat having a beer, I thought that was there was no need for Omega to come out and start off. Yeah. Obviously, we get the spoiler alert. Christian is there, and do we really want to see him? We'll talk about Christian in a bit. Let's just kind of stick with the Omega. But the thing was, it's for that kind of ending. We know it messed up, right?
Right.
And
carry on, my friend. I can still hear you. Oh, we've gone a bit blocky now. Oh. We're never going to catch a break on the UK one. We can go to Canada. We can go to Australia. We can go to Germany. No, we can go to Cape Town. And it's fun. As soon as we go to the UK, this happens. Yeah, sorry about that. A bit of a connection. Like I said, we can go anywhere in the world. As soon as we go to UK, then we got issues. Right.
Sorry,
you were saying.
So yeah, the best thing they did on Dynamite this week was they laughed it off. They took the piss out of each other, and that was what they needed to do, because you know yourself as a wrestler. If something happens, something wrong happens in a match, fans know they're not stupid. And if we don't respond to that, we look stupid. Yeah. So if they'd have not even remotely spoke about it, we'd have gone, well, did Tony Khan realize that there was sparklers? Like, who was the who was the lighting guy? Who was the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was the fact that they addressed it in a fun way that sets it up for the next part, which will be something along the lines of either a tag match or a 6-man, where it'll be like War Games.
Yeah.
Because that's AEW, in fairness, Loudmouth, is turning into WWE by bringing in ex-stars, bringing in skits, weddings, bullshit like that. Yeah. That's just some wrestling.
Yeah. Somebody said a very interesting thing to me about AEW. And it was in passing. They said this is verbatim. They said, "Oh shit, AEW is going full WCW."
It's a good point. Whoever said that, yeah, fair play. Fair play.
Anyway, moving on to the next part.
Before you do, no, hear me out.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've seen Dynamite this week,
yeah.
Okay, so we know about the ending with the Inner Circle and stuff like that.
Right.
Do you think? And I'm going to just hit you with the question. Do you think that all the shit ideas that Jericho had in WWE that were turned away by Vince, by Pritchard, by all the top guys, now he's kind of on that EVP, position or VP or whatever it is?
Yeah.
Do you think now his shit ideas are now coming to fruition because Tony Khan's like, "Oh yeah, I'm your biggest fan. Yes, you can do whatever you want."
There is, in any wrestling promotion, there is a certain amount of creative control that you handle to your guys, especially if it's independent, especially if you're not taping something or if it's a house show and things like that. If guys say, "Hey, I want to try something," and it's, and it's not in the first match and the guys don't want to do jumping off a scaffold, it's not in the first, you kind of let the guys have a bit of creative control. Guys want to do a double flip in the first match into the crowd and things like that. You kind of have to say to them, "Listen here, guys, it's the first match. It's got to set the tone, but let's keep it a bit, let's build it up. Let's not blow our load in the first 5 minutes." So there's a certain amount of creative control you've got to have in the show. And I believe that Tony Khan has given Cody and has given Jericho carte blanche to go ahead and do all this stuff. And AEW, in my opinion, is there so that you can make everybody happy. Oh, you want to try this? Perfect example. Luther versus Orange Cassidy. First move of the match. Luther power bombs Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy kicks out.
Let's just put that in perspective, though. Kevin Nash won the world title with that move.
Is Luther Kevin Nash?
No.
Is Orange Cassidy Bob Backlund?
No.
There is a certain amount of creative control that Tony Khan has not installed in the wrestlers yet.
But this is the thing. Tony Khan isn't a wrestler. He's an owner of the Jaguars. He's an owner of Fulham FC, and he owns AEW.
Yeah.
Right. Now, don't get me wrong. His knowledge on wrestling is ridiculous. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
But he's not a wrestler. "Oh, Mum, do you fancy going booking for AEW?" "Yeah, go on then, love, no problem." There's no. I have a really big issue with companies in the UK, and sorry, I'm just going to say it. People that are involved that have no idea how wrestling business is. And if I can give you a quick example. I wrestled for a company in Wales, and it was called Conway City Wrestling, so CCW, right?
Right.
And at the time, I was the top guy. I was the head champ, and we did like a festival, right? And my best mate, Big Dan, we travelled down and we did 5 matches and a rumble, right? Now, I was the champ at the time. They brought in this guy who was an entertainment manager, right? No idea about wrestling. a guy that did discos, DJ.
Yeah, right.
Yeah?
Okay.
And I introduced himself and stuff, and I was like, "Oh, have you got the belt?" You know, because obviously we want to try and promote it here. Oh no, we don't need it. It's just a prop. I could have throttled him, right? And because I told him to fuck off, I had to lose every single match as champion to just bog standard undercard wrestlers that don't even wrestle anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I got back, and I was like, and I just said, look, if he's going to be part of this company, I want nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He doesn't understand. I have no problem jobbing to anyone. I couldn't care less.
Yeah.
It's not about that. But when you're trying to push your company in a different direction and your champion is here, push that champion further. Make that belt prestigious. Don't go, oh, our champion's great, but he's lost 5 times in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And he got eliminated by a girl in a rumble. You know what I mean? It just it shits all over it. And let's be honest, it's you know, it's all, you know, it doesn't matter. People are telling you when into well, bollocks. But it was the fact that he coming out of nowhere, never didn't even introduce himself, walked around like Vince Russo. So obviously he had no idea. And you just sit there going, what is going on? And you go to the promoters and the bookers and you're like, listen, who's this tit?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like what's he doing? I mean, like, he never came in to introduce himself to the boys, handshake, nothing. And then he got people's names wrong because he wanted to do on the mic, but he was calling people by their real name, and he almost called me Chris, right? Wow. And before he even said it, I whipped the microphone out of his hand and I pushed him. And Big Dan can attest to this. And I went, if you speak anymore, I'll shove this microphone up your arse.
There we go.
And he never. But this is it. People that aren't involved in wrestling. Tony Khan, you know, respect where respect is given. He's got AEW on national TV. That is great for anyone working. But when you look at the booking, like you just said, Luther and Orange Cassidy, who wants to see that?
Yeah.
And that is just.
Aside from the fact that I don't get Orange Cassidy at all, I mean, different to his character. And as you know, when you get no reaction from somebody, it's worse than getting a bad reaction or getting a good reaction. And when people go, Orange Cassidy is great, and I go, just don't see it, man. Just don't see it.
I don't. I must admit, there was one match I saw on the Indies, and it was Orange Cassidy versus Hornswoggle. And it made me laugh so much.
Yeah, okay.
I'll
need to look
if
into
any of you need to, I was in stitches. It was that funny. But since then, that's it.
Yeah.
That is it. I mean, I don't get the point in. I like the idea of the hands in the pockets, like I mean business. But look at the size. It's not like he's going to be world champion. It's really hard, and obviously Jericho wants to rub with all these new guys. That's why obviously he was in there with MJF and the Bucks and whatnot, and that's fine because that's what Jericho's done all his life. He gets in that position where he can kind of forge a path to work with the guys that are upcoming, and that's fine.
Yeah,
that's politics in the business. But yeah, I'm with you, big man. I don't see the draw with Orange Cassidy. I wouldn't go, oh my God, it's Orange Cassidy. I go,
yeah. that's exactly the reaction I gave to somebody, and they were offended. They're like, Orange, really? Why? Orange. I'm like, dude.
But why? Yeah. Right. So if say your friend was in this room as we're talking about Orange Cassidy, right? Wrestling is supposed to simulate a real fight. When a guy stood in the middle of the ring with his hands in his pockets, low kicking the shins of someone else at the speed that my mom drives, how do I get excited?
Thank you. I thought it was great. I thought it was great when Miro just turned around and gave him that savate kick and just kicked the shit out of him. That made me laugh because I was like, yeah, you get some of that, bitch.
Too right. And he caught him flush as well.
That was nice. It
was beautiful.
The second thing I want to discuss. Did you see Peyton Royce's interview on Raw Talk.
On Raw Talk. Yes, I did. Yes.
Right. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 for that girl, because she opened up, she was genuine, she was honest. And this is what sometimes WWE misses with their programming, is real emotion. Real emotion. And Peyton Royce, I don't know if she'll ever see this or not. She's good friends with Savannah Summers. Savannah can pass this along with you. Peyton Royce, if you see this, my girl, 10 out of 10. You have got a fan in the loudmouth, because that turned me into a fan. I always thought Billy Kay was better at promos. You changed it.
I'm with you. I'm a big Billy Kay mark. When she stands there and she's, "You've got to be joking. You're joking me," and all this, it pops me all the time.
Absolutely.
And I think Peyton was kind of pushed a little bit back from the boisterousness of Billy Kay. But yeah, it was pure emotion. It was kind of like the Miz's promo on Raw.
Raw Talk. Yeah, on SmackDown. Sorry, on the SmackDown.
Yeah. when he listed everything he'd done and all that, and it's, like you say, it's raw emotion. But Vince has got to trust you to project it in the right way.
Right.
So, do you know what I mean?
I get you.
Not, it's really tough, because I think there's a lot of people out there on the roster that would love to have that 5-minute spot to just pour out everything. But then people do use it as a shoot as well.
Yeah.
And they've got to be careful. There's a difference between a shoot and raw emotion. Raw emotion gets people on side. Shoot is where you bury people. You know what I mean? You got to be really careful on that line.
Did she walk it perfectly?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Two thumbs definitely up for that one, I think.
Yeah, I think she did a great job, in fairness. I think there's more to come. I mean, they're pushing her in matches. She had a really good outing against Charlotte Flair a while back, and it kind of showed everyone what she could do. I think the problem you've got with Peyton Royce is the stigma is that she's married to Shawn Spears, who's an AEW guy. Now we all saw how Lana got treated by WWE when Rusev went, or Miro. But credit where credit's due. Lana has literally just took it and gone with it.
Yeah, no, I was gonna. Now that you brought it up, the Lana thing. A lot of people crapped the bed when Nia Jax kept on putting Lana through the table and things. I think it was 6, 7, 8 shows in a row.
Something like it. Yeah,
it was a lot. It was a lot, week after week after week. And when Lana pushed Nia through the table and won that tables match on Raw, you can hear the difference between a parting cheer and a genuine cheer in the Thunderdome, and that was a genuine cheer. And I thought it was a little overcooked in terms of Nia putting her through the table all the time, but the payoff was actually pretty good.
It was. I agree. I think if they'd have just done it like maybe 3 or 4 weeks instead of like 8, it almost became too predictable. And when wrestling is predictable, it gets boring. You know what I mean? But I think I agree. The payoff was brilliant, and Lana's obviously excelled from that point on. She needs to find something more about her that puts her apart from every other female wrestler.
Yeah,
because you look at like the Lana, the Billie Kay, the Dana Brooke, the Mandy Rose. They're all generic. They're all the same. They don't do anything that makes me go, "Oh my god, that's good." Like Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler is a legit badass.
Yeah,
and you believe that what she's doing in the ring, whereas in like everything else, it's quite cookie cutter kind of stuff. It's like it's more like the WWE way, and it's not knocking WWE, but we all know how it works. They like them to wrestle a certain way. They water down a lot of things. I mean, look at Nakamura. Christ, what a fall from grace. You know, he's been up there. He was great. He was great in NXT. He was obviously Rumble winner. He won the title, and then that's it. But then the strong style stuff is now gone. That's what he's known for.
Yeah, the Japanese style of wrestling is not conducive to the WWE style, because
No
if
way
you
near.
look at the guys that have been in WWE and left, Kairi Sane and Kenta, they wrestle in a specific style in Japan. And I've mentioned this many times to people who have been over to Japan. I mentioned it to Jazzy. I mentioned it to Joe Legend and everything like that. The Japanese style of wrestling is very, very hard. It's extremely hard, and it's extremely tough on your neck and your back and things like
100%.
that. And when you learn how to wrestle that way, and you come to the States and you try and learn the WWE way, either you adapt like Asuka, or you flounder like Kenta. There's no in between. Where's Akira Tozawa? Where's Akira Tozawa? Akira Tozawa is a great, great wrestler, but he hasn't adapted to the WWE way. Similarly, do you think somebody like a Seth Rollins, or who's a generic WWE guy, Dolph Ziggler or Bobby Roode, do you think they'd be able to go to Japan and adapt to that style? I don't think so.
No, I mean, that's a really good question. I think Daniel Bryan could do that for me.
Yeah.
I think he could. He's the kind of guy who's gone from the Indies to the main. He's stuck around. I don't think someone like John Cena couldn't do it. No way near. No, not a chance. Cesaro, I think, could do it. Chris Hero or Cassius Ohno from NXT UK would be able to kind of hack it that side. And genuinely, I think that will be about it. I don't think Shayna Baszler probably from the women's side, and obviously you have Io Shirai there as well. But it's you're right though. There's the style of Japanese wrestling is completely different to American. And the good thing about like a New Japan or an All Japan or something like that is it's just pure wrestling. There's no skits. There's the odd interview backstage where it kicks off a little bit, but there's no skits.
Yeah.
There's no there's no. I don't know. I'm gonna go back to it. There's no fucking weddings and bollocks like that. That's not wrestling.
Yeah.
That isn't me. But I think you're right. Japanese guys that have come from Japan, like New Japan, like Kenta. Obviously, Kenta was on Dynamite the other week, but we haven't seen him since.
Yeah.
And there's rumors going around that Okada might come over, Tanahashi, guys like that, and that'd be mate. That would be great.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Okay. Let's give 4 Japanese wrestlers. Okay. I'm going to mention Minoru Suzuki. I'm going to mention Okada. I'm going to mention Tanahashi, and I'm going to mention Toru Yano. Out of those 4, which ones do you think is more suited to an American audience?
Christ. Definitely not Minoru Suzuki. Nowhere near.
Come on. Walter versus Minoru Suzuki. Dragunov versus Minoru Suzuki.
But you want it in New Japan. You don't want it in WWE. They would water that shit down. You want, for me, Dragunov versus Walter was probably one of the best matches last year because they let them go. They said, look, do what you need to. I mean, like I say, I've wrestled in the past, and it's just go with it. Why? It would be a complete waste if they had Minoru Suzuki against Walter or Dragunov or someone like that, or even like Cesaro or something. It would be a waste on American TV. Everyone got fucking hyped up about Nakamura and AJ Styles at Mania, and that never lived up to the hype because everything was watered down. Whereas if you get Nakamura from maybe 2008 of AJ Styles of 2010 in New Japan, Wrestle Kingdom, whatever, that will be a match.
Yeah,
because the gloves are off. I mean, someone like Tanahashi, he looks the part in regards to like being on the American side, which I get. Okada, I'm not 100% on Okada. I think he'd be really well suited in AEW, just because he's got that connection with the Bullet Club.
Yeah.
Who's the fourth one?
Toru Yano, because both you and I are both fans of Toru Yano.
I would not want to see his talent wasted on American TV. If they looked at something like an AEW, yes, because you're going to get a lot of indie stuff, which means that, like I say, the gloves are off. You've got a lot more leeway to plan your matches. WWE water everything down.
Yeah.
So I would never want to see any of those guys in WWE at all. It was hard enough watching Kota Ibushi in that cruiserweight title tournament and Zack Sabre Jr. You know, I mean, it's great that they were in it and they were involved. Yes, good. But did you see the best of them?
Yeah, probably not, man.
I mean, let's be honest. TJ Perkins won the whole thing. Says it all.
Yeah.
And then people are going to say to me, "Oh, TJ Perkins is better than Zack Sabre Jr. or he's better than Kota Ibushi." Oh,
no,
give me a break.
TJP is good, but no.
But he's not on that level.
No, the one guy I left out of there. I left Naito out of there purely because of Naito's relationship with what's his face? Charlotte Flair's boyfriend. And what's his name?
Andrade.
Because him and Andrade were Los Ingobernables de Japón. And they wrestled in Mexico together and they wrestled in Japan together. And I put Tetsuya Naito aside there because I think of all of those guys there, he has the most ability to mix in with that style purely because of who he hung out with. And Andrade is super talented. Super talented.
He is. He's just not used in the right way.
Oh, we'll still get to that later down the road because there's a whole 10 hours we can talk about that.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, right down to Fan Fiction Thursday.
Okay.
These guys, we got some of the fans of Champions Pro Wrestling involved to give us some questions. There was a guy by the name of Offensi. I sent you some of the questions there. He asked about some of my Wrestle Monster memories and who my favorite wrestler is in South Africa and things like that. Excuse me. I caught what you were coughing about earlier. I've caught it now.
Flu.
Yeah, I hope not. I just got over a bout of illness. So please, no, don't wish anything on me. My favorite Wrestle Monster was Wrestle Monster 3. Although I didn't compete in it, I did all the media for it. There was backstage interviews with some of the international wrestlers like Marcus Burke, Peter Smith, some of the local guys as well, Kilimanjaro. I commentated the whole show almost by myself. They had another guy in there by the name of Nick Nama, who was pretty much commentating his first show, and there was like 18,000 people in the crowd. So I pretty much had to carry that. I did all the media.
You're like Joey Styles, aren't you?
God, if I had
Joey Styles.
If I had 1/10 his talent, I'd still be more talented than I am now. But that was my favorite one because Mark Beal said to me, he said, "Donovan, I'm leaving this in your hands. Whatever you want to do. Just as long as if it's something risky that you want to do, let me know." So I thought about all the risky things that I could do, and I put them one side because I wanted to prove that I could do it myself. And that was the genesis of where I started becoming in Mark's mind that I could not only win the All Africa Championship, but I could carry it forward. It was all that. I was the first one to land in Port Elizabeth. I was the last one to leave. I handled all the media. I ran myself ragged. But the best part is guys that weren't involved in the show, that were part of the production and everything like it, came up to me afterwards and said, "You know what? We know what you put into the show. Well done," because it was a success.
Good.
And as much as Mark put together the matches, and the matches were great, and everything happened, and poor old Alpha Junior dislocated his hips because somebody didn't catch him because he did a backflip off the top rope and things like that. It was madness. That was the best part. Notwithstanding the fact that when we started the show, I was probably about half an hour into a very, very serious hangover. A very serious hangover, because no, I'm not going to bury people. Myself and 5 other guys, they know who they are. Started drinking at about 9 o'clock the night before, and we stopped when they started serving breakfast.
Nice.
The next morning. So yeah. They're like, "Welcome to WrestleMonster 3," and I'm like,
Jesus
okay,
Christ,
it's starting to happen now. So yeah, it was one for the books. It was definitely one for the books, and I'm most proud of that. I'm most proud of that work.